it's supposed to be 74.
I was so tired when I got down.
Okay, it appears that we are on air, and so I'm going to go ahead as the vice chair to call this meeting to order. It appears that we do indeed have a quorum, and so I think we need to start with, you want to take roll call, and then we can go ahead and
You need to confirm the open meeting act.
Okay. This is an open meeting committee, and so we confirm that it is indeed an open meeting.
Yes.
Okay. So do you want to call roll call, or you want me to? I can't remember who does it. Okay, Matthew Banks, not here. I'm on the old minutes. I was thinking that was wrong. Okay, Bonnie Newbrand.
Here.
Here. Angie Sullivan.
Here.
Here. Stephen Cook. Scott McCready. Larry Carnes, that is me, here. Rosemary Mai.
Here.
And Lacey Halton.
Here.
And Morgan Pavey. And Molly Foley. Okay. So I think we need to add a voting in of a chairperson so that we have somebody officially running the meetings. So can you guys do that, or am I allowed to do it by movement?
You can do it. You can move to add that.
Okay, I would like to move to add a vote for the chairperson of this committee. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Is anybody desiring this position? Because if you would like to volunteer, we would certainly vote you in.
I nominate Lyric.
I had a feeling that would happen. And so you moved to nominate me, and do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Okay, so I guess I'm going to be the chairperson and run the meetings. Thank you very much. It would be a good idea, I think, to also vote in a vice chair at this time. And I would like to nominate Rosemary Mai for that position.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, and so that way, if ever I'm not able to attend, then Rosemary will be able to conduct the meetings. Okay, we will start with our citizen forum. Are there any citizens that would like to speak for 3 minutes on a topic that's not on the agenda? I appreciate all the citizens that are in attendance today. It's always wonderful to see that, but it appears nobody is in desiring of speaking about anything. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next. Would you, we have new members on our committee today. Last time I thought you introduced them.
And I can.
Yes.
Right next to you, we have Bonnie Newbrand, Angie Sullivan. Those are our two adult, and then we also have Molly Foley and Megan Pavey as our youth members, but they're not here today.
Right. I had to say something about why I was on this committee. Do you guys wish to add anything about why you are happy to be on this committee? I know that's how I felt.
I have a lot of passion for the animals, and they cannot speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. So I felt like I'd be able to maybe have a voice for them, and so that's my main purpose.
Excellent.
Yeah, I too have a lot of passion for animals, and I was a volunteer at a shelter in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I was living out there for 20 years, Humane Society of Huron Valley, an amazing facility. Excellent. And just hoping that I can get more involved with the local
Excellent.
What's going on.
Well, we welcome you both to our committee and look forward to 2-3 years. I always forget what the service is of being here together. So very good. Do we have any community veterinarians comments? I don't see any veterinarians in the house. Okay. Okay, it appears that there are no veterinarians in the house wishing to make comments. Has everybody been able to view the minutes from our last meetings that I was trying to read from earlier? Did you see any corrections or changes as they were presented?
Did not.
Okay. If you do not see anything, I would appreciate a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, and a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of of approving the minutes as presented. And so that was a 5-0 vote. Okay, so moving on.
Oh, you forgot agenda.
That I did. I skipped right past that. And I was just going to do that one. Do we approve of the agenda for today? Can we have a motion to approve of our agenda for today?
I make a motion we approve the agenda.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. And all in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
And that was with the one amendment that we did have the voting of the chair and the vice chair, which you'll add to that. Okay, it appears that we are now at new business, and it appears you have some education about the trap and release program. I know that last time, I don't know that everybody understands that process, and so we will appreciate hearing some information.
Absolutely, yeah. It came up. We had multiple members talking about the trap and release program at the last meeting, so I wanted to just bring some information about our program to you guys, and also the public. Hopefully, they're listening and they can jump in and help us out for the community. So, our trap and release program, as you guys know, or those that are new, just a little bit of background. Every Thursday, we have a low-cost spay and neuter clinic. We have a veterinarian that we contract with that comes from Wichita, and we do the public low-cost spay or neuter, and then we also do all of our shelter animals that way as well, and it helps us save costs at the shelter. With that, we started in 2025, back in January, our trap and release program. We were trying to get it back up and running with the community cats. And so every third Thursday is our trap and release day. We still do public dogs. We do not do any public cats because we don't want to risk any kind of transmission of diseases between the feral cats that are coming in and then domesticated indoor cats from the public. So TNR, or trap, neuter, and return, it's also trap, neuter, release, is the humane, community-based approach to managing the outdoor cat population. Their cats are trapped safely, usually the night before, so for us it would be on a Wednesday evening, and then they are brought in from community members. They can borrow traps from us. A lot of them have their own traps, and then we spay or neuter the cat. We give a year rabies vaccination, and then we ear tip the cat. So that way out in the community, if you see a cat missing the top half of its left ear, it means that it has been spay or neutered. That also helps our regulars with our trap and release program know if they have caught a cat in a trap Wednesday night or Thursday morning that cat has already been altered. And then they then pick up the cats and they return them to the same location that they picked them up at. I'm trying to figure out where I was at here. This helps reduce the outdoor cat population and improve the health and welfare, as well as decrease the shelter intake in the long run, along with less litters in the community. I do have then on our statistics is next from 25, and it shows you the months that we have done it. Going along with that, we follow the same procedures that are part of the ordinance with the city as to we don't, if the temperature is going to be under 30 degrees overnight from Wednesday night into Thursday morning, we will cancel the trap and release day and push it to the next month, just for the safety of those cats being stuck in that trap for the night. But total for 25 so far, we have 162 cats that we have vaccinated and sterilized. We started off, if you notice, a little rough at March, April. That's when we were really starting to build the program. But recently, we are really sticking between that 20 and 30 range. The other statistic going with that is we usually schedule, or we ask people how many traps they're setting out, because we get about a 50% return for those that are trapped. The next page has some information on why it works for the community. There's going to be fewer kittens born which then means fewer animals entering the shelter. It improves the public health because cats are vaccinated against rabies. It helps manage the colonies, and so they are healthier and less visible. It addresses nuisance behaviors like howling, spraying, or fighting. I know that was one of the things that, and Scott's not here, that he brought up last meeting that he was concerned about was some of the houses and asking about welfare checks on houses that have a very large population around it. It protects against wildlife because it's reducing the numbers of cats in the community, then reduces the number of predation. And it also just engages the community and helps volunteers in the community trap those animals and help us at the shelter. So trap and release versus the alternatives. There is always going to be, I'm going to use one of the trainings I did, grocery store was the example they used. The grocery store with the trash can behind it. If you remove the cats from that area, new cats are going to come in because that food is there. They are coming for the food or the things that they can get. You're never going to get more cats in the area than what they can, the food that they can live off of and everything from that. And so if you remove them, your new cats are going to come in and then they are not necessarily altered, which then leads to more and more. So if we return them to the area that they were trapped at, they've been altered, they can't continue to reproduce, then they will stay in that area. Do you guys have any questions on the trap and release program in this notes? The other thing before questions, sorry, that I handed out was our volunteer agreement that we have asked all of our trap and release people to sign. It just kind of gives some of our rules and expectations that we go over, where we prefer the live traps instead of like pet taxis or soft carriers, because we have a way to do the sedation through the bars of the live trap, which is a lot safer for staff and the cat, that gets them less worked up than having to handle them, because feral cats are pretty difficult to handle sometimes. And so that kind of just shows what we're asking the community members to assist with.
Well, and I understand, I mean, when you say protect wildlife, it's true that it will, you know, if we don't have as many cats, birds are the main thing that cats eat. But you're also, cats are going to be eating mice, and so they do help in that capacity. I think that you explain it well when saying that we re-release them to make sure that we are putting a cat out there that is not able to reproduce.
Yes.
And because no matter what, it will be filled with that particular, that habitat will be filled. And too many cats, you just simply have more chances of disease transferring, chances of fighting, injuries.
Yes.
And if we can keep that population down to a reasonable level, then, because I know one of the members had said that they just think you should kill them. And like you say, they're still going to be there. And so we have to acknowledge the fact that can we do it properly instead of improperly. Yeah. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? Did you perchance have a program like this where you came from?
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Very similar.
Yeah, very standard. Thank you for that. And I understand we have a new logo?
Well, so we're bringing it to you to request.
Okay.
So we actually started this. We had to update some of the graphics at the shelter about a year ago. We started with this design at the front when you first walk in, under our lobby windows that staff sits at, and just to kind of brighten up the lobby. And then from then we had to add, we have our blue van that was bought through donations. I'm not sure when, years ago.
17 or 18.
And we use that a lot for like transports to rescues with dogs, and we didn't have any kind of labeling on it. So our graphics guy actually put this then on that van as well. So those are the two things that it is on now. But as we talked about it and as we're doing more updates around the shelter, we kind of thought that it might be time for a new logo. I don't know if you guys are familiar with our current one, and I should have put something in the packet that shows our current one, but it's on the top of your the trap and release volunteer agreement. So it's just a silhouette of a dog and a cat and says Slime Animal Shelter. We're kind of looking for something a little bit newer, brighter, catchier to catch attention. And so we wanted to come and ask your thoughts on this, if this is a logo you guys like, if you would like more options. This is just the first start of, we wanted your feedback. So
My first gut says you need to have a tag on the collar
Okay.
to encourage people, because tags
Yeah,
are what
absolutely.
we would identify an animal with. That's my first gut when I look at it. If you could put a tag on there.
absolutely.
It seems, have you thought about the cost that is involved in changing the logo? Because you're gonna have to change, are you wanting to change the whole system of the animal shelter, like on the cars and any other materials that you would have? Because this logo, to me, being a graphic design person, it does not portray what I would say the animal shelter is.
Okay.
I mean, it has a mouse.
Yeah.
Which, you know, to me, that doesn't make too much sense. A bone and a ball, you know. Have you thought about, I know you don't probably want to keep it simple, but like talking to the art teachers at Central and Salina schools in the art department and see if their students would be willing to put something together. It has to be something that's you know, you can replicate it, whether it be on a t-shirt or paper or any kind of medium that you might have, whether it be toys or dog bones, I don't know, whatever.
So
Yeah.
we have not. This is the very first step. We wanted your feedback, which is exactly what we're here kind of asking for. So I love those ideas, and this is something we can definitely keep working on. I hadn't thought about cost. All of our like stationery and everything, because you brought up cards that has logo on it, we don't buy huge bulk of it. So we would use what we have before we would make any changes. But like, yes, it's definitely something we could work on to come up with some better designs for you guys to look through.
This particular design I would not use.
Okay.
I mean,
I
that's
appreciate
just
it.
my opinion.
Yeah.
But, and also, the colors, I would stick with either two colors or no more.
Okay.
Than three, I think, 2 or 3, because you get into colored things cost a lot more to replicate than just 2-color, you know, print or something like that. And keeping a positive face, because, you know, the people remember logos, you know, and, you know, I got all kinds of things about animal shirts and that, but I think that'd be a good idea to get even the school art department involved, some of the graphic artists here in town. There's you know, I think you'd be surprised what they could come up with that would really represent the animal shelter. So.
I like that. Thank you for the feedback.
Yeah.
This is what we were looking for.
I'd like to add to what Bonnie said
Yeah.
about the local schools or something. I wonder, to get community involvement, if it wouldn't be complicated to do like a contest, especially with students perhaps.
We could do
And one thing, so I work at Kansas Wesleyan, and I do, we have this display board for our nursing students, and I am responsible for updating that display board. And I wanted to we had a happy holidays. We were having the students come and decorate our building and do gingerbread houses. And I put it into Chat GPT, and I gave them all the parameters. My design was beautiful. I was amazed, because I was just going to do something myself. And what I came up with and what they did, it was fantastic. And it's an open resource, and
Wow.
you know, I don't think there's any copyright
Okay.
stuff. So
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, that's a lot of good information. Sounds like you're going to have a lot to do on that. Okay, our old business, you already went through the trap and release numbers. What about the Microchip Clinic?
We did have a microchip clinic. It was our first one, so it seemed a little bit slow, but I thought we did really well. We did 17 cats and 24 dogs, and we were open from 8 until noon. And we are having a vaccine clinic this Saturday, and we're also going to offer microchip with the vaccines. But then we're going to try and offer that at least once a month if we can, maybe every other month. But it will be helpful. So the vaccine clinic will be our first one. So we're anticipating it to be super busy.
You realize we had it actually scheduled last month in October, and due to staff sickness and our vet then having a family emergency, we were not able to do it, so we postponed it. And so it is then scheduled, like she said, for this Saturday.
Why do we not have a local vet that's willing to help? Why do we have somebody in Wichita?
So we've had this contract with the vet in Wichita for 5 years, around
yeah.
5 years. That might not be, but around, yeah, give or take. And she does contracts with other humane societies and has history with shelter vet medicine. And because we've had that contract, we've continued that. We do utilize the vets here in town
Yes.
because she's only here one
So that's
day a
maybe
week.
she does that
So
as a like
it's
she
additional.
does that on multiple places.
Yes.
She
Yes,
goes
and
and
she
does
goes to
that.
multiple.
I
Also,
see.
with the fast flow spay neuter clinic, it's very fast. It's kind of a roller coaster of like this chain reaction of this person doing this and this person doing that and this person. And so it's multiple people that are in there that are helping her get the animal ready for
So she
surgery. She
brings
does
her
the
own
surgery. She brings a tech, and then Andy's in there during the day, and we have Jersey. Our coordinator's in there. I'm in there in the morning with check-ins, and then we have various other staff that come in to help with the check-in process of, going to the car and letting people in. But being a that fast spay neuter clinic, it runs a little differently than what a vet's office would run. So it's just you have to be able to. Not that our vets aren't fast here in
it's just
town, but
all you're
it's-
saying is that she has experience with running a fast program, and she does this in other communities, and so that's why it works well to have her
Yes.
come from Wichita instead of using our local vets. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
It's also very cost efficient for us, which plays a big part in it. We're able to fix more than if we were to go to local vets with her prices.
Oh, so she's priced herself
Yes.
such also that it's more reasonable for
Yes.
us. Huh, interesting.
And then
Okay.
we base our public prices off of what she's charging, which is why we're able to offer those low cost
Okay.
to the community.
Have we, just for curious, has any vet ever said that they wish they were part of the program because they have a passion for helping animals? Or have retired vets that are local? Have we ever had anybody?
We have not for that particular thing. I think it's more or less they are still interested in us having our animals being brought there. If we do have an opportunity to take an animal there, say for something like another medical condition, hey, do you want to spay it while it's under at the same time? Yes. Because it saves that animal from having to be put under twice, those kinds of things. But we do try and utilize our vets here in town as much as possible.
Okay. Okay.
There is also a specific city procedure, like if we're bidding out for a big job, we have to bid out for vets to put in and then put in a request, and then we go through those. And so that's where if we did have an opening, we would set it up that way and have vets bid
Okay.
if they were interested.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that procedure. So you're saying, in summary, that it is a bidding process and that this particular vet has bid at a price that is reasonable for us to utilize them, and that they have extended experience with quickly neutering and spaying animals, so they are efficient in their jobs.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, very good. Any other questions on that? Okay. We are up to the general announcements. It looks like you have a new board member orientation packet. Did you want to go through that?
I do.
That is, yep.
Okay.
Jeff was going to handle it.
I believe you have a copy of this, and I'm going to go through this somewhat quickly, maybe 10 minutes. If you have questions about what I'm asking, I am not an expert on Robert's Rules of Order. However, if you have questions, I can find the answer. I might not have the answer myself. But all boards, we do this once a year, whether people are a new member to a board or an existing member. I offer a brief agenda, and I'm not going to read this word for word, so hopefully you're reading along. City departments, partnerships. We on the left, we provide all the city departments, and on the right, all the partnerships that the city has. And all the boards and commissions that the city of Salina has as well. As you can see, there's quite a bit. So public citizen engagement is very important to us for all these boards. And a current organization chart. The only thing that's not current on here is the recent naming of the city manager. So that's the one change on this one. That hasn't been updated since then, so I didn't have access to an updated copy of the organizational chart. However, this is the most accurate, except for the city manager vacancy is now Jacob
You
Wood.
can ask.
Give you a structure of the Parks and Recreation Department.
Hey, Jeff, if you want to pause for a second, I think there's a question.
Sure.
Did you have a question?
Oh,
Sorry, I kind of heard you.
I don't know if the Friends of the Animal Shelter is no longer a partner.
So I need to remove that from the partnerships, yes.
That's under
Page 4.
Yeah.
the partner,
Okay.
city
I will do that.
department.
Parks and Recreation related boards, of course, the Animal Control Advisory Board, Advisory and Appeals Board, the Tree Advisory Board, and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and their frequency of meeting, conducts and expectations. You received several pieces of paper when you became part of this board. You should have received the rules and procedures for conducting boards and commissions as part of the Citizen Volunteer Board document packet. We asked for citizens who are to serve on a board to read the packet prior to the meeting, limit the use of electronic devices, listen, ask questions, and be independent and informed. And as you can see on the top of that page, there's some attendance requirements for boards. Some of the responsibilities. I want to spend a little time on this page. We do have 2 youth liaisons for this board, which are not in attendance today. But youth members are a non-binding vote, so they really don't have a vote. There are 7 members of this board. A quorum for this board will be 4 or more, which is a majority of the 7. But a youth member does not apply towards quorum, nor does it apply towards a vote. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. If there's questions about that, please ask. People apply. Responsibilities continue. Staff's responsibility to put together the meeting packet and agendas and be a resource for the board. There's different roles for the board, chair, vice chair, which we talked about earlier today for this board. Some boards, not all boards, have a secretary or an assistant secretary. This board, most Parks and Rec board staff provides that service of secretary. But there are some boards that have a board member that is a secretary. Makes it kind of nice that we can create minutes from rather a little more simply this now because of the meetings are recorded and there's a transcript that gets created and we can create minutes from that. You should have also received an ethics policy as part of your membership or being on the citizen board. Talks about the ethics policy, ex parte communications, conflict of interests. And you were, I think most of you already, I think all of you, all the new members signed a document saying you received those packets already. We have 2 state laws that we have to follow, Kansas Open Meeting Act and Kansas Open Records Act. So the requirement from the Attorney General from the state of Kansas is that sentence number 1, call to order, has to be said in that exact verbiage.
Okay.
So I noticed that we kind of paraphrased, got the point across, but that's
So
the
we'll do it
advice.
in those exact words next time.
The legal advice we received is that it should be word for word what is provided on that call to order. All boards and commissions are subject to Kansas Open Meeting Act. Kansas Open Meeting Act is defined when 3 conditions are exist. Interactive communication. I wanted to make sure I explain that a little bit. We try not, the only email conversation we really have to the board is, or any board, is through, is for the agenda and for the minutes from the previous meeting and any attachments. You will not get a whole lot of interactive communication from staff through email as a group. It could be individually, but as a group, it really invites a interactive communication of board members through email, and that becomes very problematic for complying with Kansas Open Meeting Act rules. So if there's we may send that board or the agenda and the minutes out as a group, but we need to be mindful of avoiding interactive conversation outside of this public meeting that we're having right now. And that goes for any board. I'm not just talking to this board, it goes for any board. So you can kind of see some examples there about replying to all. If we have a specific question for one individual, staff will only reach out to that one individual, not as a group. So if that makes some sense. And then there's notices that get sent out for the meeting, and whether that be through email or through a website. And conducting business, this is where I'm not, well, a quorum is a majority of this board. There's 7 people, 7 adult members of this board, so a quorum would be 4, a minimum of 4. There's several different types of meetings. We don't have study sessions really for this board. Other boards do, but we do have regular meetings such as this. We don't really have annual meetings for this board, but we have had special meetings before for this board where there's a topic that has a timely thing to be able to accomplish. So we rarely do have special meetings, but they have happened. Kansas Open Records Act, procedures that we have to follow for public records to make them available when they are requested. And that is also part of the Citizens Guide to Open Government, included as the information you received. And I'm not going to go through parliamentary procedure because this is, I don't know it well enough to be an expert by any means. But I think what we're doing today, what I see often, and anecdotally, what I see often in boards is that they have a motion, someone makes a second motion, but then there's not a vote. Or they skip from the first motion right to the vote. So making sure we follow that first motion, someone seconds that motion, and then a vote. So far, Lyric, you're doing a great job today.
Thank you.
Any questions that you might have that I can try to answer? If I can't answer them, I will get the answer and let you know.
Okay, so I know that we're actually at the end of our meeting, but I realized as sitting here that we forgot to have, at one point we had discussed having a section for board members to make comments, and I think we left that off. So it is a little bit out of order, but I'd like to move to add right now an agenda item for any miscellaneous board comments. Would somebody be able to second
That
it?
was in the minutes.
It was in the minutes, and
It
it just didn't
didn't
get in this agenda. So can I have a second, perchance, on that? Okay, second. Is there any discussion? If not, can we go ahead and have a vote, if that's okay? All in favor of, let me finish it before you guys say yes. All in favor of adding right now an agenda item so that we can make miscellaneous comments from the board? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Looks like the ayes have it. So we're going to go ahead and open it up to any board members if they have any comments at this time.
Yeah, I do. Anybody else? Okay. Okay. They're comments and they're kind of questions too. So I had gone on a tour of the facility and then came over a couple times to look at animals, whatever. And one of the things, when we walked by the laundry room, there were just stacks of dirty laundry towels, bedding maybe, and I wondered, do you need another washer, or do you need, you said you're short-staffed that day, but do you need more help? I know that the volunteers used to do that, and now we don't have volunteers, so it puts it back on the staff at the animal shelter. So, when my husband says, I don't hear the laundry, I need underwear, so it's like, you gotta keep it going, and I would imagine you have to do laundry every day. I don't know.
Yes.
So you have to understand, we go through when we clean in the morning, so all of the dog kennels, all of the cat kennels, everything gets pulled, and that's where we get stacks. We can only put so much in the washer, and it takes us about 50 minutes per load. So it is running about 12 hours a day constantly as we are folding and putting away.
Yeah, that day I was there, it wasn't running.
Okay, it may have just finished. I know we have timers up at the front desk to catch that, so.
Yeah. But from what I understand, that's a common problem, but before the volunteers left, that was something that they did, and it could more keep up with it better, even though it was a challenge. So, in all sincerity, do you need another washing machine, another dryer? Would that help, to have more loads washing at a time than just the one? Do you have one machine, right?
Right, yes. Our goal is to maybe get a bigger capacity washer and a bigger capacity dryer. I'm not sure if that was something that we had for 26. I think we discussed it, but that is something that is on the plate. We are constantly running that machine. How much did it say?
We just had to replace the screen on it recently because it had broken, and I think it said we had about 20,000 hours on that machine.
Well, see, and that's what I'm saying is, you can say you're going to do something, and in your heart you want to do something, but it needs to be done. And from what I understand, and I could be wrong, is that there is money there left over from Friends of the Shelter or from donations. You're saying there is no money from Friends of the Shelter?
We don't.
That money goes, so when we go to budget with the city, we do that in April for the next year. So the 2026 budget was approved in April of 25, and we have a plan, a 10-year plan of when we're getting big ticket items, and it is on the plan, so the money will be there for 26 to purchase it. We just can't do it until we receive that money from the city in our 26 budget.
So in April of 2026, are you planning on buying a washer, large capacity washer?
We can purchase it anytime in 26. We just had to plan for it this last April for the new year.
Okay.
So it's on our 26.
So in January, you will be purchasing something like that. And do you have to send out bids, or do you just get to shop for it, or how does that work?
Depends on the price. So
Yeah, the price.
Yep.
So
We might
you
have to
do
shop.
yeah, we'd probably just shop, and then we have to get at least 3 quotes.
3 quotes, okay. Thank you. Then something that really bothered me is in the garage, you had wire kennels for the little dogs. Now, I know you were washing the floor that day that I was over there, but I didn't see any. Did you not put dog beds in there, or water bowls, or food? Even when I went down the large kennel, I did not see food bowls and water bowls. Now, I did back in the area where they can go if you need to put them in there while you're cleaning or whatever. And it looked like clean water in there, but I did not see any water or food in the kennels for the big dogs, so, or the little dogs. So
For the garage, and I believe that was
no, I didn't see any in the large dog area.
in the large dog area. They're the front half is there, like where their bed is, and then on the second side of it, on the back side of it, is where their food and water are kept in the big dog kennels. In the garage, I believe we were cleaning at that time. They, by state standard, have to have a bed, they have to have water, and they have to have food
Okay, I did
24/7.
not see any of that.
If they were cleaning, and I believe they were cleaning the day that you came in, they move everything over and spray off the floor and then move it back, and they may not have had the bed back in there or the water or the food back in there until they're done cleaning. Then they re-establish that kennel for that dog, and then so they would have everything when they're done cleaning. But I know that Candace was cleaning that day, and all the kennels were kind of moved out to the side with the dogs in it, but they didn't have their bed and everything in it because they weren't where their kennel was supposed to be. It was kind of moved off so they could clean the floor.
Okay.
Can I ask, why do you have to take out, what's the purpose for removing the bedding and the water when you move the kennel? What's the purpose?
So all of that gets cleaned, and they get a new, clean, sanitized bowl.
Oh.
And bed and blanket. So
And
that's when
bed
we're talking
and
about the washer. We
blanket.
pull
Okay,
everything.
so
and
you're
it goes back in.
saying, the only thing I was visualizing is you're spraying the ground, and that it could get it wet. That was what I thought maybe the logic
It all
was
gets
for
cleaned.
removing it.
We have to. They
So
get
why not
new every day?
Why not immediately when you take one out, put a new one in?
So in the garage, when we move those kennels, we shift all of them over to the open side of the garage, clean the floor, and clean the corunda beds, which are like the flat that sit up about 6 to 8 inches. We clean all of that. Out of that garage door on the side, we have those wire kennels, and then it all gets moved back. Everything gets set back up. So my understanding is when you walked through, it was during that time while everything was shifted, and we hadn't reset everything yet.
Yeah, because there weren't any beds in any of the
Yeah.
big kennels either.
So all of the big kennels have beds along the side you would have walked down. Then when you're saying all the food and water, that's on the inside where we have a row where we can feed both.
Yes, but there were no bedding in the big kennels. Now, I may have missed the food and water because I didn't know the locations, but I would have seen the bedding, the beds, and there weren't any
Every
beds.
kennel, unless a dog has destroyed one of those beds, which is pretty difficult, has one of those beds in it. And then after we're done with everything, we put a blanket or a towel or something with that bed, unless that dog, okay, well, I'm just kind of walking through what our process is. And so if it's something we'll need to look into, we will look into it with our staff.
Okay.
So I appreciate that, though.
Yeah. And then I had a question, I think it was you, Andy. I don't know how to word it exactly, but the consultant for putting together a volunteer program, you mentioned that it was just going to be for the whole Parks and Rec division. It wasn't just specifically going to be for the animal shelter.
For the volunteer program? Okay.
Who are you thinking about using as a consultant?
So we are actually currently on hold with that. We are waiting from direction from the city manager.
From
So
Jason, what's his name?
Jacob Wood, yes, in terms of the volunteer program.
Okay.
So I don't have an answer for that right now.
Is that somebody I could contact with?
Yep,
and
as a
just
city
say
manager, you're
what-
more than welcome to email him. Yep.
Jacob Wood. Okay. Because I didn't know if you had to do like you do with the other, talk to different people about being consultants and that, because, okay.
Sorry, if I had an answer, I would give it to you. I just
That's
don't. We're
okay.
just on hold, so.
That's okay. And then, not to bring up a sore subject here, but how many pit bulls are in the shelter at this time?
I want to say 32. We can look it up real quick.
I was gonna say, if you give me about a minute here, I can have it pulled up.
Yes, we have a lot. We did get 4 out in October, beginning of October, and then we got some out in September when they transferred out. So, and then we had a release agreement that got 3 out just last week. That they were released to a family member of somebody who lived in a different state.
Okay. Just while you're looking at that, can I ask real quick another question? Why is it that you can only have one family or one person or one group in looking at the cats at a time? I know my husband and I came, we were gonna look at the kitties, and they said, well, no, you have to wait. And they were like, I mean, we would have been there for hours. So what is the philosophy behind that?
We only have that one area, that one space in the shelter for people to look at and adopt cats and get to know them. We don't have a separate area for that, for them to do that. So in order for somebody to sit and be able to get to know that animal, we can only let that one family in or that one person in at a time, so they can spend that time deciding if that's the cat they want or not the cat that they want.
You're talking about inside the cat room?
Yeah, we don't have a separate cat adoption room. Like, we have a separate dog adoption room, but we don't at this time have a separate cat adoption room, because that space is, the space that used to be our adoption room for cats is our trap room at the moment.
Only one cat can be out of the kennel at a time.
Okay,
So
that
that's
was
part
my
of it,
next
yep.
question.
It's-
That's
And
part
so, yeah, it's, since
Yeah.
and it's
Did
first
that
come, first
change?
serve.
What did you just change that like in the last
No,
few years or something?
when the friends would be in there, they would only get one cat out at a time for the people, but they would stay in there with that person and then kind of go through that, get the adoption process going. It didn't make it any quicker, but because if somebody wants to spend 10 minutes or half an hour looking at something,
Right.
that's kind of it's sad that other people have to wait, but that's the process that we have to go through right now.
Okay. Did you find it?
I did. We currently have 22 pit bulls.
22, okay. Yeah, because I've looked at all the,
And
in 8/13, August, you had 21.
And out of those 22, we have sent off DNA for all of them and gotten it back showing that they are either Staffordshire Terrier Pit Bull or American Pit Bull, 50% or more.
Staffordshire, is that Van?
It goes. It's
it goes
with the Pit Bull.
pit?
Yep.
Okay. I think, do you think at some point the ISO room would be opened up so that the little dogs could go back in there? You know, it used to be in that ISO room, I think that's what you call it. The
If
little
that's our
dogs-
court hold room, you mean?
Yeah, the what?
She's talking the ISO. You mean the isolation room?
Yeah.
In the back. Okay, so we have that specific space for if a dog is sick. Depending what that dog has, we can only put one back there at a time, and we have one back there right now. So that's where it comes in, is we can depending on what they have because of the way it's set up.
More conducive to the animals to be able to have the little dogs in that area and then have a smaller area for sick animals, because you're not going to have, we hope, you're not going to have 5 or 10 animals sick that need to be isolated, because the little dogs, it's just heartbreaking to see them in those little black wire cages, their little feet on that cement. There's not even anything down there for them to be comfortable with except that wire. And it's, you got a cage, wire in the bottoms, wire all the way up.
With that isolation, though, we don't have anywhere else we have to have a completely closed off room as that isolation room. We couldn't switch them and put dogs in the garage that are sick and need isolated.
I'm sorry, I'm not saying put
Okay.
them in the garage.
We don't have any other isolated rooms besides that one for a sick dog. We have our cat isolation, which has kennels, but that back room does not have any it's only standalone kennels, so we can only have one dog back there at a time.
Is that something maybe that's in your 2026,
Like construction to add to the facility,
Have an
it
isolation
is
room?
not.
That is not.
No, because it would be a very high ticket item that they would to add it wouldn't just be that room. They would have to add and do significant construction to the shelter.
that's something you can add to your 2026?
Not at this point, because it was approved in April. It's something we could talk about for 27 as we're getting ready from now until this next April to plan for 27.
Because to me, it makes more sense to have the dogs that are well in these areas rather than have the 6 dogs, 1 or 2. Hope you don't have that many, but
And it just depends on what's going on. If you have a a dog that has mange, that has to be separated out. If you have a dog that has kennel cough, that has to be separated out.
Yes.
So those are all things that we don't have a lot of space. We made a little bit of space when the surgery center was built, because we used to do surgeries in the back area, like where the ISO room is now. That's where we used to do surgery. But now that we've got that space, we were able to, and by state standard, you have to have a separate room for ISO. You can't put anything else in there, because like you never know when something's going to come up and you're going to need that isolation room. So we leave it with nothing in it until we need it for isolation.
What about one of the offices? Instead of somebody having their office, you know, not you necessarily.
We only have two
have two
offices.
offices.
It's Monique's office, and then we have the office for all the animal control officers that they use together. So we really,
And they use
we're
that
utilizing
room.
as much space as we can.
I used to share my office with one of the gals, the other coordinator. Her and I shared an office because we didn't have any space.
I just think if you could look at your facility, and you had talked about having, if I have the name right, what's it called? The Kansas Animal Shelter people come in and make recommendations on what you could do for the shelter to make it better as far as space-wise.
Jeff, what year was it that we had a survey done of the shelter?
I believe it was in 2023, and they made some suggestions about a remodel of inside and in addition, 4 additional dog kennel spaces, and that was between $4.5 and $5.5 million. And at that time, based on that dollar amount, we did not pursue that.
Well, I think what she's also saying, though, and not to kick you out of your office by any means, but you could get yourself kicked out of an office and you could gain some space and maybe have your office in the front area. I mean, there are creative ways to do things. It's not always pleasant. Obviously, we're in a situation where right now we're waiting for a vote for the pit bulls. And so we don't want to do anything until we find out what's happening with that. And a $4.5 million addition, that's hard to get people to pass. So I think Bonnie's just trying to suggest that maybe walk around. Is there any creativity, you know, thinking outside the box? And it is. That's a very big think outside a box to say give up an office. And maybe make that an isolation room. But it's not necessarily a bad thought. Even I don't know how long people are in their offices, but being a teacher, I know I can get a lot done just sitting on that chair over there too. So I think that's what she's trying to suggest is maybe just you guys walk around and maybe think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it just really, it looks so uncomfortable for those little dogs, you know. It just really bothers me that they're just those cages and on the floor.
And ideally, if we aren't as full as we are, they would be in the main kennels. But we have every single one of the main kennels full. And so that's the backup, is having to place the small dogs in the garage in those wire kennels.
She could talk to me about that when we did the tour, but she said that the quiet dogs and the little dogs would go to the garage area. So, okay. I think that's, I have several other, but I won't keep you here.
No, you're good. We
We're
appreciate
fine.
being able to explain our reasoning and get feedback.
Sure.
So thank you.
And in fact, that makes me wonder if, as a board member, I've never actually toured the animal shelter, and I wonder if we should set that up as an opportunity.
It would have to be like a one-on-one, like one person at a time. It couldn't be as a group, because if it's a group, then it's a meeting. So it would have to be like how Bonnie did it.
Okay.
She came in by herself, and then you can just call and say, hey,
Okay.
I want to come in for a tour. And
So I would maybe
walk you through.
say that it'd be...
You can have more than one as long as it's not a quorum.
well, it's like if you're talking about like
I
board
mean, you
meeting
could have
things.
2. You can't have 3 or more.
Okay.
And so that would
That's
make...
the way the city, right, is that not correct, Jeff? Because that's the way the city commissioners are. They can't have 3 or more, but they can have under 3.
Because 3 is a majority.
Right,
So ours would be 4 or more.
yeah.
So you could give a tour to
people.
2 or 3 people, and maybe we can. I don't know if we ourselves can just request it. I don't know if you guys would want to, but I know that I need to get over there, and I just haven't since I've shopped for dogs a long time ago. So it's been a long time.
And since we were talking about pit bulls, do you get notification from the courts as when a hearing is, when you might be having a dog leave, or how long you might be keeping the pit bull or dog, whatever the breed is, in? You do get notifications?
Well, so what happens, the process is we take the dog, the officer then sends in the information with the court date. And they're usually 6 to 8 weeks out. And that's how court wants us to have those 6 to 8 weeks out, so they have time to process that information. Just because a court date is ending, that doesn't mean that that dog leaves. If they can do a release agreement, or find somebody out of town that they can have the dog go to, those are the positives that would. But if the court says you can't have the dog and blah, it's the shelter's property, I don't have control over that.
Now, if they say that it's the shelter's property, does that mean that you euthanize them because you can't keep them for years?
Well, no, that's why we have 20 some
Yeah,
in there
we have
right now.
22. We
because
try our
we're
best to get 'em to
actively
rescues.
trying to find places for them to go. There's just so many places that are not taking now because they're in the same boat that we are, not with pit bulls necessarily, but with their shelters are just full. So they can't accept. We do trades a lot with some other facilities. We will trade, like if they don't have a ban in their town, we'll trade for, like, say they have a dog who is maybe kind of not, has some behavior issues. Yeah. So we'll trade with those, and we'll take the dog that has behavior issues, and at least we can work with that dog and see if we can, get it adopted out. So, and then they'll take our pit bulls and then adopt that pit bull out through their facility.
We are constantly communicating with the city prosecutor and his staff through that whole court process, knowing kind of what's going on. They're asking us questions. We check in on where cases are at, so we know. Because we can't spay or neuter that animal.
Yeah.
We can do basic vaccines because they're in the shelter, but we can't do like the rabies or anything until that animal is either our property or gets released.
Did I understand it right that if a dog's DNA is 40%?
50% or higher.
50%
so
or
if
higher,
it-
they have to.
You can adopt
So
them out.
49 or less, we can adopt it out, yes.
Did the puppies get adopted?
All 5 of them got adopted that day. Last
that
Friday
day
they
came
were
out.
available.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. I think that's all I had.
That's all you had?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I had more, but I'm not going to go anymore.
Okay, I had 2 things. Public perception is important. And from 3 people, unfortunately, and I'm sorry to say this, but the perception is, when they have been there, the perception is that there's 4 staff employees sitting at the desk not doing anything.
With their feet on the desk.
I haven't seen, or they didn't say
I got
feet on the
one
desk.
today.
Okay. And so my gut tells me that we need to manage them better if that is the case. Now, it's 3 different people that have sought me out since they knew I was on the board. They're just people I know randomly. They're not anybody who's in my circle. Well, one person I do pottery with, maybe in my circle of friends, but it's been a random thing. So I don't feel like it's a bad sampling of the public, but I think it's important that you're aware of that.
So we actually have heard that as well. We've had
Really?
people tell us that. And we
Okay.
actually recently, a week ago, sent an email out to staff making a couple of changes.
Okay.
So what I'm guessing what's happening is we always have 2 front desk people sitting at the 2 computers. Our dog walkers, when they are filling out their paperwork, I believe they've been sitting up there. And we have changed that to where they are sitting in a different room when they're filling out their paperwork, so they're not just there. And then our animal control officers, they have that office for a reason to do their paperwork. We've asked ask them to stay in the office unless they are out on calls or covering for somebody or
And
needing
see,
something, so they're not just sitting out
That
front.
even brings up the interesting factoid that if it's the animal control officers that are sitting there, then we should be using that room for a different purpose. You know, and if that's the case, if we have that much space in that open front area, maybe that's what we do, is we put them there and use that room for a different purpose. Because if they are naturally drawn there, you know, maybe that's what happens. I don't know. That's that creative solution
absolutely.
We've
of
also
things.
are trying to make that room, that officer's room, into our trap room. So
Why couldn't you use it for the isolation room so that we can put the puppies and the dogs, small dogs, back in that long?
It's an idea.
It's all, it's all stuff we can work through.
It's an
and
idea
we're
to
trying
think
to get
about.
a bigger space for the trap cats so we can bring in more stray cats in, so we have more room in there, and then that little tiny room.
I would recommend, it's the trap and release program, I think, is doing fine. I think we need to get better public perception.
Yeah.
Okay.
And public perception in the garage is not positive.
No.
And public perception of people sitting at desks is not positive. You know, my gut, when they said that to me, you know, they were right away, well, they hired new walkers and da-da-da-da. You know, and how much time does it take to do paperwork? It should not take that much time. It should be something where we are paperworking and getting on out. So I think I appreciate the reasoning or the logic and the, you know, and I really appreciate that you have already started to address this. I think it would be very valuable to address this strongly. And then maybe be able to come back and say, you know, we were able, because of us addressing this, we were able to walk our dogs more often than what even we were wanting them walked. Because as a dog walker, I think I should be out there 99% of the time.
Right. They have a log sheet.
It doesn't
that they
take
have
long to
fill
do a
out.
log sheet.
It doesn't take a long time, but it's very detailed, and
It
they
does
like
not
to get
take
it all
long.
done.
It is not going to
So-
take long. When I
and
walk
we have
back
them
in,
in a different room now.
right. But what I'm saying is, when I walk back in, all I have to do is write the dog's name. I have to walk when I took him out, when I put him back. That is 2 minutes. And so we should be walking dogs 99% of the time.
Agreed.
And not just socializing.
Sure.
So that was one thing. The other thing is that there was a complaint about the Facebook page. I know nothing about Facebook, that it wasn't up to date. And that if there was small dogs and blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. And so I'm just bringing that to you.
We do our best to post that, but
And
it's
that's
one
what
of
I
those
kind of
things we
told
don't
them.
usually. We haven't had a lot of time with staff to post our available dogs. We tell people to go to our website because they are on there.
So the website
a
is
lot
the
of
better.
our, yes, a lot
Is
of
it on Facebook that says go to the website instead of here?
I don't know. I can
Maybe
add
that's
and
what we
tag a
could do
post that our available animals
That's
are.
what
Yep,
I would
okay,
do.
I like that.
Is that way we're kind of covering our bottom a little bit on that one, because I don't do Facebook and I wouldn't know. The other thing that I was thinking when thinking about the people sitting up at the desk, we have dog walkers. Okay, let's say we're tired of dog walking, but we still can give our dogs stimulation. Do we have a program where anybody on staff is trying to teach our dogs basic behaviors like sit and down and, you know, that type of thing? And do we then work with them? I know with my own dogs, that process of working on sit down, and I don't do stay. They know that when I give them a command, that is the last thing until I say release. But when, I guess I would, if we don't have a program, I would like to honestly make a motion that we create a program, that we are, because then we have a better chance of that adoption being successful, because this dog has some manners.
Right.
And I mean, the first manner that I would teach a dog in that circumstance is I open the door of the crate. I open, and they don't come running out and charging me, but I just simply close it. I don't yell. I don't say a word. I then open it, and if they stay, then I'm like, release, run, yay, you know, and this excitement. And so I'm just, do we have a program that's trying to teach some of the manners, or have we considered that?
we work with them when we can.
When you can.
But the other thing you've got to think about is the phones are constantly ringing when we're open with loose dog calls, people calling about other questions. They've lost their dog, their cat. City licenses, people are constantly walking in. And so a lot of the staff has constant things happening throughout the day.
So it's like me
But,
as a teacher that I have unexpected things and I'm constantly being drawn.
Yes.
We do have several of the animal control officers that do take time out of their day to get a certain dog out that's maybe a problem child or it doesn't like anybody but that one person. So then we get it out with that one person and we could socialize it with other people in the facility or staff, but it's not a consistent, scheduled thing.
And I understand that because being a teacher, I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am sitting at my desk and 20 kids ask me 20 different questions in 20 seconds. And that makes it difficult to keep a consistent, but I still get my job done. And so I guess I was just, and I need to come view it so that I can kind of get my own thought process going. But it's something I would like you guys to think about is this idea of making it purposeful. Just like the dog walking. Honestly, as part of the dog walking, at the end of the dog walking, you've got your dog tired, that is the perfect time to work with them on some behaviors, sit. And so we could walk the dog and make it part of a purposeful plan that we just teach a dog how to sit so that when they get them, we have better success. And even putting on a leash, I mean, it's tedious, I realize, but that whole process of making or teaching a dog, and you don't do it by force, and you do not do it by intimidation, we don't do it by bribing, we do it just by watching the dog and waiting till they make a choice. But I would recommend putting that as part of the dog walking process. So those are my three things, and I'm excited and happy to hear that you have indeed addressed the perception. Just keeping in mind that if we're only moving the sitting and visiting to an office, that may take away the public perception. But what we really want is true, let's get our job done, let's get back out.
I don't think we're moving that.
Okay,
what you're
perfect.
saying, everybody, instead of congregating at the front, different positions are going to different places. They're not all going to continue that.
Okay, so perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, we separated that out because that's going to continue the talking if they're in the same, just a different
you just
space.
Socialize. Yeah,
Right.
It's
so
a
then
natural.
This
We all
person
want to
goes
talk
here, this
and that
person
will help
goes
them
here,
then get their job done
and then
faster
there's two people up
and go
front.
out and do something again.
You know, listening to all of this conversation, so much of this stuff could be done by volunteers. I've been on this board now for a year. We have talked about volunteers for a year now. Nothing is done about getting volunteers.
And it sounds like we're in another holding pattern because of
And
this consultant.
I don't think we needed a consultant to get volunteers. We had over 100 volunteers up until a few years ago. It's not that hard to get volunteers. No. When you've got a staff that knows what needs to be done, all you do is give a list. I volunteer for Slina Shares. She didn't have a consultant telling us what we need to do as a volunteer. She's got a list of things that need to be done, and every volunteer does their job. And I'm thoroughly against hiring a consultant to get a volunteer program up.
Again, we talked about the consultant at the last meeting.
I'm
We
just
are
voicing
waiting
my
on, yes,
opinion.
we're waiting on direction is where we're at. Yep.
I mean, like I said, I've been on this board for a year, and all we've talked about is volunteers, and we still have no volunteers. Yep. And volunteers can do a lot of work that has been discussed at this meeting tonight.
And am I correct in saying that you're kind of in a position where you're waiting for the powers that be to give you that option of starting a program because of this consultant thing? Or is it something that you're requesting a consultant? Or is it the powers that be that are requesting a consultant?
The consultant idea was something we brought after so much feedback from the Friends of the Animal Shelter that we brought up at the last meeting. We never moved forward with it. We were bringing that up as an idea.
Okay.
We're waiting on direction.
And who has to give you that direction?
Those that are above us, I think, between Jeff and the city manager and everybody and what they would like us to move forward with.
Okay. So So
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
our,
So can we request
Hey,
a
Jeff.
meeting with them, Jeff and,
so can I ask you, Jeff, what's holding up the process of the volunteer procedure, the volunteer program?
I think Andrew said it earlier, we're just waiting for direction from the city manager.
So we're waiting for higher up.
then hire
And why
you?
is he struggling to make a decision?
I can't speak for the city manager, I don't know.
Okay?
But
Okay.
it's something I would need to follow up with him with.
So I would ask
follow
you
up
to do
with him.
so. And let's maybe, I think that, I guess, I would, I don't know if we have to make a motion for this, that I would move that we talk to the city manager, that you talk to the city manager, and that we try to get this volunteer program going, and that we do so without a consultant. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Do we have any discussion on this motion?
We already have all the tools in place. We have an application,
Okay.
we have a waiver,
Then.
we have a background check process, so it's not that difficult.
Okay, so I am moving that we talk to the city manager, and can we please vote on this motion that and we're asking you to talk to the city manager and try to get this moving faster than what it has. Can I have a vote on this motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Just trying to recommend that we stop dragging our feet and try to start getting this moving in a positive direction. Okay?
The one thing I would like to ask is, I feel, and I've watched a year and a half of these meetings, and it has been brought up about having the advisory board meet more than once every 3 months, and it's been shot down every time. But I would like to make a motion that we meet at least every other month. And I don't think there'll be a problem with the room. I mean, I know you brought up that, we may not be able to get the room or whatever, but I think it needs to be checked into, because by the time I kept seeing, like Rosemary, the same things being brought up every 3 months, because there's no finality to the issue. And if we meet more, maybe there can be some finality to help you guys too. I mean, bringing the volunteers back, it doesn't have to be the same volunteers. It seems like there's a big hoo-ha went on with that. But, just getting volunteers. We had a run of 5,000 people, and our city commissioner, Bill Longvine, said they had 500 volunteers, and he said it went wonderful. Why can't we go back to having 100? And you shouldn't have to be micromanaging them, because there should be somebody that does manage the volunteers and has, just like if they were in a job, okay, you come in, do this, do this, do this. Have somebody sitting in the laundry room doing all the laundry, so you don't have to worry about getting up every 50 minutes and folding a load or whatever.
So
But-
it sounds like you have made a motion that
Yes.
we meet every 2 months as opposed to every 3 months. Is there a
Yes.
second on this motion?
Second.
Second. Do we have any discussion on this motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. So we're simply making the recommendation that we would like to meet every 2 months as opposed to every 3 months, so that we can try to keep things moving along. If perchance, I am sure that things were going more smoothly, it could be that we could reduce that back to 3.
Yes.
It is a motion of a recommendation. So you do what you would like.
Just
Okay.
wanted
Okay.
to point out the process from this point then is the recommendation goes to the city commission to consider your recommendation
Okay.
about changing the
Number
frequency
of
of
meetings.
the meeting or the time of the meeting, or not time, but frequency. And it's something, if they want to bring it up, if they want to take it on, they will. If they don't, they won't.
Okay, okay, we appreciate that. Okay. Is there anything else that the board members wish to say at this time? Okay.
She does.
It's out of order. It should have been on the beginning. I will go ahead and quickly honor that, but we're going to keep it within, let's say, 3 minutes. Yes. Okay? Okay? Okay.
I was wondering, how many full-time employees do you have, Monique?
So 5 officers, 4 officers, Alexis, me, you, 5, 7, 8. 8,
8 full-time employees, and how many part-time?
3,
3?
3, yes.
Okay. All right. And talking about perception, I have had that feedback too about the staff at the front sitting there talking, being on their cell phone. And one of the persons that I talked to said that the one even had their feet up on the desk when they went there. So I didn't think that looks very professional.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you say who you are?
Yes, I will.
Yes.
My name is Rose Bass here in Salina.
Okay,
I live
thank
here
you
in
very
Salina.
much. That was my mistake
Yep,
for not
sorry.
doing
Well,
that.
that was mine too. I've just been
Okay.
ready to ask some questions here while they're still fresh in my mind.
Okay.
And is the public still able to go in the kennels, Monique?
Yes.
Okay. And can they take their phones in there and take pictures?
Yes.
Oh, they can?
The only room that you wouldn't be able to take pictures in would be the court hold room, but they don't get to go in there anyway, so.
Okay. Okay. And then I know Bonnie had talked about the kennels being wet, the floor kennels being wet, and they was in the process of cleaning. What time do they clean? If you open at 11 o'clock, shouldn't the cleaning already be done and
We
be
start
accessible to
cleaning
the
at
public?
6.
At 6 in the morning?
At 6 in the morning, and it depends on staff that day. If we're shorthanded or if somebody's called in sick, we may have got a later start. For those, usually we're done by about 1 o'clock. We usually clean from 6 to 1.
It takes you that long to clean?
Yeah, it does.
How come we used to do it in 3 hours?
So
when Annette would come in at
NACA,
6?
the ACO and National Animal Care actually suggests 15 minutes per animal per kennel.
Okay, I'm just asking her, though. You know,
Do
you remember you used to
Oh yeah, I
clean?
used to clean.
Okay.
I
yeah.
believe
And
it was,
how long did it take us to get clean and be ready to open to the public at 9 a.m.?
well, 6 to 9.
Yeah, 6 to 9, 3 hours.
It does. She does. My full-time gal, she gets in there and gets in deep cleaning, those kinds of things. It does take a while to clean, especially if you're spending 15 minutes for each kennel. It does take a little bit to clean.
Okay. And are we still paying 2 dog walkers, people to walk the dogs, since we don't have the volunteers anymore?
We have 3 dog walkers right now.
Okay, so we're paying 3 people to walk the dogs. Okay. Let me see here.
Based off of how many there is, it doesn't matter how many there are, it's the same amount of hours.
Okay, but I did
8
like that
hours a
fact
day.
that she brought up, Miss Carnes brought up about, it doesn't take that long to document what they walked, how long they walked it and everything. I thought that was a good point. And also, Mrs. Sullivan, you come from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Did they have a volunteer group there?
Yes.
Oh,
It was
they do.
fantastic.
Okay, I think we are the only animal shelter in the state of Kansas that does not have a volunteer group. Yeah.
They did have a volunteer coordinator, so a paid position.
Yeah.
But their program was outstanding.
Yeah,
Several
well,
hundred volunteers.
Volunteers are just amazing. And then you had asked a question about the veterinarians and stuff like that. I want to know why K-State quit coming, Monique.
They stopped coming because we have our gal that does public, and we didn't have a need for them as much as other shelters had a need. Other shelters had a need for them more than we did. That's the spiel I was told.
And who did you talk to about that?
I can't remember his name. It's the I could get you his name. I don't have it
Well,
off
now
the
I'm going
top
to tell
of
you,
my
you
head.
told me you could get me some information here one of these other times I come to these Animal Control Advisory Board meetings, and you never did, Monique.
Okay, what information
Never
were you
did.
asking
I wanted
for?
the stats. And you said,
Stats
oh,
of
yeah,
what?
that wouldn't be no problem. I can get you those stats.
Stats of what? I'm sorry.
Well, the monthly report. Be more transparent on things. Put your numbers up on the board like everybody else does, all the other animal shelters. And you always have an excuse, Monique, as to why, or, well, I've been having trouble with this, and just like that, well, they couldn't get logged onto the computer. You're not transparent whatsoever.
Okay.
Andy, if you didn't have Andy, you'd be a crick girl. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Yes. And, because how many kennels do we have?
67
67.
And 40
for
of those
dogs.
And 22 of those now have pit bulls in them?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other comments at this time from the board? Okay. Well, we appreciate everybody's time for coming here this evening and for all the comments. And I now adjourn the meeting of the Animal Control Advisory and Appeal Board. Thank you.